Welcome to another episode of How I Discovered My Gift with yours truly, David D. Simons. I'm excited to have today's guest on, Gwendolyn Young, who is the go-to business and operations management consultant for 6- and 7-figure CEOs who are ready to greet their next level of growth. Gifted with both strategic and tactical acumen, Gwendolyn has rightfully earned her stellar reputation as exactly what she is: an indispensable strategic partner who advances every organization that she steps into. The brilliant brain behind several successful companies, Gwendolyn spent 15 plus years advising corporate executives who implicitly trust her to devise the systems and solutions that significantly increase their profitability. As the founder of Your Virtual Admin Expert, a multi-six-figure results-driven agency of professional administrative problem solvers, she brings her full spectrum of expertise to lead the company's and clients' success. Backed by know-how, her high-level education in organizational leadership and business information systems, along with a pure passion for people, Gwendolyn is a recognized authority in her industry and a champion who lifts others as she climbs. Welcome to the show, Gwendolyn. Thank you so much for being on with us today.
Thank you so much, David, for having me. Excited to be here.
Wonderful, wonderful. So on this show, How I Discovered My Gift, we go into the gift and the development, the discovery of it, and the distribution of it, based on the parable of the talents. You know, one had one, had two, the other one had five. One hid theirs in the ground, the two developed theirs. So when you look at your journey, uh, take us through the childhood perspective to the adulthood of your journey into making you who you are today.
Oh, wow. You're going back.
Back.
Um, yeah. So when I think about the childhood, I was born to a single mother, teenage mom. I think my mom was 17 when she had me. My dad was 19. So, teenage parents. Um, basically a statistic born out of wedlock, to a single mom raised in the projects on the west side of Chicago. I was also a latchkey kid, the kid that mom was working and so had to go to school by myself, walk myself to school, come home, lock the doors, all of the things. Um, and so that was kind of the childhood, right? But I had both grandparents who were very active in my life. So I spent a lot of time with grandparents, aunts, those kinds of things. And my mother was a praying woman. And so spent a lot of time at church and Sunday school and choir and Sunday service and Wednesday night service and all the things. And so that's kind of the childhood that is kind of where it all started, I guess.
Beautiful. And when you think about that childhood, and you think about what you do today, what's your dominant gift, and did you see signs of it in your childhood?
That's a really great question. I don't know that I ever really considered that until now. Um, I'd have to say, kind of looking back in hindsight, I guess I have always seen the gift. So I have the gift of administration. I love all things order and structure and admin and behind the scenes and making sure the pieces fit. And so my gift is administration. And I guess I can see it because early on I had to figure things out, right? I had to make sure things were in order. Do you have your keys? Make sure you lock the door. Call your mom as soon as you get home from school. You walk this certain route to get to school. So I can kind of see the process throughout my life. And so I guess the gift was there always early on. And then I always loved telling people what to do. So, I could rally the friends together. I would teach Bible study. And so I was the person who was like, no, you line up over here. You do this, you do that. This is how we're going to walk in. We're going to do it this way. And so I guess that gift has always been there. And so as I kind of journeyed through the years, it just started to get more and more developed. I went to a business high school. And so again, that gift was being nurtured, right? I didn't realize that was happening until you just asked me that question. But being in a business high school where they were teaching me, administration and marketing and business and all the things, that was also an opportunity for my gift to kind of show itself strong, right? So that was a great question.
Awesome, awesome. Look at that. That's cool. That's cool to see that your journey and how that's developed. So, take me into your first role where you recognize or you started to realize you're using this gift of administration and what was happening in you and in the organization or what you were doing.
Yeah, so it started early on for me. Being in a business high school, part of what our graduation requirements were is that we actually had to work in order to graduate. That was part of a requirement. And so I'll never forget my first, I guess my kind of first role and job was working at the Palmer House Hilton in Chicago, which is a super prestigious hotel here in the Chicagoland area. And as a student, I got to kind of round robin through all of the departments. I worked in housekeeping, worked in the kitchen, worked at, greeting in the restaurant, worked in the business office. And that's where I realized, oh my gosh, like I love this. I love typing up the documents. I love being a resource for people and telling them what to do or answering their questions or helping them find something. And so that's kind of where it started. And then my first real job outside of high school upon graduation was being the receptionist at a law firm. And that's where it ignited because I had the opportunity to explore working with attorneys and I was the main person in the office, right? Um, and so I taught myself Word Perfect. I was doing all the typing. I was figuring out the filing system. Like there wasn't anybody there to train me. These were things that I had to design myself and figure out. And so that was my gift actually showcasing itself, not realizing it then, but recognizing it now that resourcefulness that has been placed on the inside of me, that ability to think or streamline or structure or come up with a process was just an innate ability that was always within me. And that was kind of the start of my gift being ignited. And I just fell in love with administration at that point.
Wow. Wow. That's awesome. So then take me to the next like opportunity and then I would love for you to take me through the transition from corporate to your own entity.
Yeah. So, the transition, of course, is realizing that this could be a career because coming out of high school, it's just a job, right? Like I got a good job. I work with some dope people. They pay me pretty well. But then recognizing as I got older that this could actually be a career. Like this is something I could do long term and really make it a thing out of it. And so as I started to build my career, I worked for a very large healthcare provider here in the Chicagoland area for about 15 plus years doing administration, operations work. Had a chance to kind of promote through the ranks there. Started as kind of this office coordinator, moved into an operations coordinator, worked as an executive assistant for high level, execs in the C suite, supporting them, and then had opportunities to actually oversee my own ambulatory care centers. And so, managing two ambulatory care centers with physicians and staff and medical records departments was a huge deal, but I absolutely loved it. And so that was kind of the transition for me. And so I did that for about, a little bit over a decade, about 15 plus years. And then in 2013, I got diagnosed with systemic lupus. And that's when the shift happened for me from the corporate career to actually entrepreneurship. Um, Entrepreneurship for me wasn't it wasn't the goal, right? It wasn't the dream. It wasn't something that I had actually set out to do. Like, I know you hear a lot of people, they're like, I didn't want to have a boss. That wasn't me. I was going to be the girl that was going to crush the glass ceiling in corporate America. Okay. I was going for the
Mm,
corner office with the big salary, and I wanted to just show them how to do the thing, right? That was my dream. But
mm,
I guess God had other plans. And so when I got that diagnosis, it was life changing because I had never heard of what lupus was, didn't know what it was, didn't know what it would do to your body, had absolutely no idea. And so
mm,
I had to go into this space of just recovery. And so I was in recovery for almost a year. Um, Towards the end of the year, I just remember telling my husband, I don't want to go back, because
mm,
I recognized working a traditional job just wasn't going to work for me anymore. I did not want to have to choose between doing work that I loved and taking care of myself and managing my health at the same time. That just wasn't an option for me. I felt like there had to be a space that existed that I could actually do both. Right.
right.
And so I just remember saying, God, what am I supposed to do? Right?
Mm,
What am I supposed to do? Like, I still want to contribute to my family. I still want to be productive. I'm a little stubborn. I'm like, lupus is not going to take over my life. It's not going to own me. Like, whatever we got to do, we'll figure it out. But what am I supposed to do? And I clearly heard him say, it's in your hands. And I'm
wow.
like, what does that mean? Like, what does that mean? And I just sat with that, right? And started thinking about the administration and the operations and the support I provided in the corporate space, and said, I wonder if there's a space in the online world where this exists, where I could do this. Is this something I could do for home? And I just started researching and found that there was a whole industry of people that had been doing this for decades. And then I got kind of mad, David, because I was like, you mean to tell
Mm,
me y'all been doing this from home like this whole time? And I could have been doing this, and I've been getting up, going to work every day.
wow.
And so that was the transition for me into starting my own business.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. I mean, it's wow. It's a trial that's not easy to deal with. Lupus. I know a few people that have. It's not an easy thing to deal with at all. And
Yeah.
to make that transition, wow, wow, that's impressive. And it's cool to hear your story because, like you said, most people are like, I can't stand my job. I can't wait to get out of here. You're ready to climb the ladder and like you
Yes.
said, go to the corner office. Wow, very cool. So, Gwendolyn, when you think about this whole process, there's becoming an entrepreneur as you're building this business. What was that like for you in the beginning parts of like? Did you was it a harder transition to get clients? Did you have some kind of thing like what? I want to take because what you do is becoming more popular, and I want those that are hearing this to be inspired as they want to as this if this is they have that same administration gift and they see this as a pathway. I want them to know the real truth of what it took to get that takeoff from the beginning. Some people have an easy takeoff, some people have it a little bumpy.
Yeah.
What was your process going through?
Yeah, my takeoff was not the easy takeoff. I hear the stories of people are like, "Oh, I got six figures in like 90 days." And I'm like, that is so freaking amazing, but that was not my journey.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
That was not my story. And for me it was probably a little bit different, right? Because I had this space of having to manage my health in addition to building a business, right? And I didn't even come from the framework of building a business initially. Right. And I think that's where sometimes entrepreneurs forget. Everybody thinks that the journey starts out with, oh no, I know this is the business I wanted to do. For me, it was just, how do I bring some income into my family to help my husband, because we just lost 50% of our income. Right.
mm-hmm.
So it was more so, how do I do a little bit of that as well as stay productive? So I wasn't even
Mm-hmm.
thinking about it as a business in the beginning. When I
Mm,
realized that there was this industry out here and it was a possibility for me, I started to do research, and then I started to do things like put up job profile sites. So I was out on the Upworks and everything. I still have my Upwork profile up to this day. I will
mm-hmm.
never take it down because it is the
Mm-hmm.
thing that jump started my business. And I am forever grateful for it. But I put up, all the random job sites went up, put up profiles. I made a makeshift website, didn't know what I was doing, but I was like, looks good to me. I guess it'll work. At least if people look for me, they can find me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I put that up, and then I started like responding to RFPs, right? I'm on the job sites and I'm applying and I'm submitting proposals and all the things. And my mother was my first paying client, but I tell people, you can't really count your mom because mamas are going to support whatever they babies are out here doing, but
Mm-hmm.
she sowed the first seed. And so,
Mm,
but it took about 6 months before I got my first paying client who was not my mother, right? That's
mm.
a long time when
Yeah.
you just lost your income, right? You just
Right.
lost 50% of your income. You're dealing with a health issue that is brand new to
Mm,
you and you're still trying to figure out. But it took about
yeah.
6 months before I got my first client. And
Wow.
I'm so forever grateful for her. She was a lady in Florida. I submitted, responded to her ad on Upwork. She reached
Mm-hmm.
out. We had a phone call, and I was like, okay, I got a computer and I got some internet and I got some skills, and we about to just press play. And so I worked with her. She was in Florida. I was in Chicago, and we were doing all of our work online back and forth through the computer, using the phone and, platforms online to connect and communicate. And then one day she said, do you travel? Do you provide on site support? And I said, do you pay to travel? And she said, yes. And I said, well, then I travel.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I told my husband, you know what? You're going to have to take the weekend off because I don't know this lady from a can of paint, right? You got to understand
Mm-hmm.
we're doing
Oh yeah.
work virtually. This is new. This is new to
Right.
me. And so I'm
Understood.
like, I could get to Florida. This lady could kidnap me. I don't know what's going on. So I'm like, you're going to have to take the weekend off and go to Florida with me, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so he went with me down there. She paid for my travel, for my hotel room, all the things. And then, supporting her in her event, like live. And, she was teaching and doing her workshops and events and everything. And then when she sold, and, what we know now to be as making her offer, didn't know what that was back then. It was the
Mm-hmm.
first time I had seen somebody make like $30,000 in a matter of 30 minutes. And it blew my
Mm.
mind.
Wow.
It literally blew my mind. And I was like, what just happened here?
Mm-hmm.
That was the moment I realized you need to get serious. This
Mm.
is a business. This could
Right.
be something. And that
Mm.
was the shift for me when I actually started to treat it like a business.
Mm.
And so I dug into every skill set that I had in corporate, and I started to treat my business just like it was an actual corporation. So I'm like, they had budgets in corporate. I need to have a budget, right?
Mm.
I'm like, they had policies and processes in corporate. I need to have policies and processes in my business, right? So I
Mm.
went all in building the foundation for my business, right?
Wow.
I didn't know anything about marketing. I didn't know anything about selling. What I did know was how to do good work, right? And how to deliver what people needed in my space. That's
Right.
what I focused on while I was simultaneously building the foundation for my business.
Mm. Mm. Wow.
So hopefully that answers the question.
That does. That does. Wow. I mean, and I'm sure that lady was pleased with the work that you did for her,
She was. She was. She was
and
so pleased. She started to make referrals
that's
and
what I was about
refer
to ask. Yeah.
other her colleagues to me, and then their colleagues, started to refer colleagues to me. And
Mm.
before I knew it, I had more business than I could handle
Mm.
myself.
Beautiful.
Right. So now I move into this space of, oh, now I got to hire.
Mm-hmm.
right? I got to bring other people onto the team and train them and teach them how to deliver the service in the same way that I would deliver the service, right?
Mm.
There was a lot of shifts that had to be made. I think there's this myth or this misperception in entrepreneurship that like you have this grand idea, you get into the online space, and then like overnight you're this huge success.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that does happen for people, right?
Right.
But for a good majority of us, we got to put
Mm-hmm.
in the work first. We have to
Right.
build the foundation first. We
Tell it.
have to be clear on the purpose and the vision of why we started our business and who we serve and how we're going to serve them. This is about serving other people. It has absolutely nothing to do with you, honestly.
That's right. You're
What do you
100%.
have to give? How are you going to make other people's lives better? That was the whole premise of my business when I started out. How do I
Mm-hmm.
make their lives easier, better?
Mm-hmm.
How do I get stuff off of their plate so they
Yeah.
trust me?
Right. Right.
That was the
Whew,
key.
that's I love that. I love that, and it's oozing out of you, the passion. So let me ask you this regarding you have this gift of administration. You you leverage it in the corporate. I mean, first in business high school, which is still mind blowing. I wonder how my life would have changed if I had a business high school. And then you go through school, you go through into the career world. You start killing it, crushing it there. You're dealing with lupus, transition from there, going to corporate. I mean, going to your own company. You help this lady out in Florida. You dominate there. She's referring you business. Things are growing and blowing up. You're training people. Now, there's this gift of administration. And I know this because that's just, how we met. We met in an environment of personal development.
We
Right.
did.
So what is the personal development that is going on behind the scenes to become this person that's building this growing company? And what were you reading? What were you like? I just want people to see there's the growth that people see on the outside, but they don't see all the growth on the inside. So
Oh, yeah.
what was the growth on the inside that was happening? What were you doing to nurture that?
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, thank God for my mother, right? Who is like my leadership coach. She is my spiritual advisor. She is all the things. And she was a huge component of that, right? What I had to work on, if we're going to be completely honest and transparent, which I like to just shoot straight from the hip, it was a lot of
Mm-hmm.
mindset work. I had to
Mm-hmm.
shift from thinking
Yep.
like an employee to thinking like
Yep.
a business owner, which is a huge shift, right? That
Yep.
took some time. I had to work on my emotional intelligence, which is something I'm still working on to this
Mm-hmm.
day, because typically I just got to manage me. But now I got to
Mm-hmm.
manage me, and I got to manage me in relation to other people, right?
Right.
And then I got to manage other people, and I got to manage them in relation to me and in relation to my clients.
Right.
That's a whole lot of managing of people and their emotions.
Mm-hmm.
That takes a toll. So I had to learn emotional intelligence, something I still work on to this day. I had to work on
Mm-hmm.
mindset, huge shift on,
Mm-hmm.
am I deserving of this growth, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
happening. Can I handle this growth that's happening, right? I had
Mm-hmm.
to learn how to do customer service the right way, right? Typically,
Right.
there's a team. When you work in corporate, there's a department that handles that. Well, guess what? When you start your business, you are the department.
That's
You're the
right.
janitor, you're the customer service rep, you're the sales rep, you're the marketer. I had to learn how to do all of those things. I had to learn how to
Right.
market, right? I had to learn how to build systems that would allow me to manage this growth.
Mm-hmm.
When you bring other people in, how do I know what they're working on? Oh, I need to implement a project management system, right? I
Mm-hmm.
need to have a way to do real time communication with them. Oh, now they're delivering the service. I gotta, I gotta quality control that work. How am I gonna do that? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the books that really changed things for me was called The E Myth Revisited by Michael
Mm-hmm.
Gerber. Oh my
Oh yeah.
gosh. Love that book. Still on my desk to this day,
Mm-hmm.
because it taught me to think in systems and to think in processes, right?
Yeah.
Which was a huge game changer. So I focus a lot on how do I automate things so that I
Mm-hmm.
can deliver things easier, faster, more efficient, right? I had to learn how to budget. So now I got to start having conversations that I wasn't typically having, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I worked on the budget with my manager, but now it's like, no, I need to go find me an accountant, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody that knows finance and can advise me and help me make the correlation between what's coming in versus what's going out and how to use it for growth. Um,
Right.
the development was insane, not to mention just
Mm.
still perfecting your craft, right?
That's
You're in the
right.
online space. What are the tools that people are using? Depending on what the client is trying to do, what are the new skill sets that I need to learn? Oh, they want to do webinars. What is a webinar? I'm new to this
Mm-hmm.
online thing. I don't know about
Mm-hmm.
no webinars. So now I got to go
Mm-hmm.
figure out what are the platforms that are people using? What are the best practices in this industry? Oh, now they want to launch a high ticket coaching program. What? How do you do that? Right? It was
Mm-hmm.
this constant growth of your skill set, but also your personal internal. Because the
Mm-hmm.
thing that I've realized on this entrepreneurial journey, and I tell my clients all the time, you take you everywhere
That's right.
and you take you into your business. And if you're
Mm-hmm.
not healthy and whole as an individual, it's going to show up in your business. So you can't just work on the business. It's not enough to work on the business. You got to work
Right.
on you at the same time,
That's
right?
right.
And then I had to get good at managing boundaries because,
Mm-hmm.
again, remember, the whole reason I came into this was to be able to manage my health.
Mm.
So now I got to manage boundaries. I got to learn how to say no, right?
Right.
Which is difficult when you're trying to
Definitely.
build a business,
For
right?
sure.
Because that plays on your mental state. What if the client doesn't like no? What if the
Right.
client ends service because I couldn't give them what they wanted, or I couldn't, meet at a certain time or deliver at a certain due date, right? Because guess
Mm-hmm.
what? I spent 3 days in the hospital. Client doesn't know that.
Right.
How do I keep
Yeah.
business running when I'm in the hospital for 3 days
Yeah.
or 5 days?
Yeah.
All of these things were at play, and I had to learn and develop myself on how to manage all of those parts.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. That's a lot. Wow. You're giving them the inside. I love that.
Yes.
Thank you for that breakdown. You not only shared the personal development, the actual. It's like you though you have this skill set naturally of administration, you didn't take it for granted. You said, you know what, I'm
Yes.
still going to up level my skills. I'm still going to continue to learn. I'm still going to put myself in environments for learning. Uh,
Absolutely. You have to.
mm,
There's no way, in my opinion, you can do this journey of entrepreneurship alone.
mm-hmm.
It's just, it's just, I won't say it's impossible because
Yeah,
everything is possible, but it'll take
right,
you longer.
right.
It'll take you much longer. It'll be much harder than if
Yep,
you l- put yourself in environments to be constantly learning. And
right.
it's a disservice to your clients when you are
Mm,
not constantly up leveling your skill set, your
for sure.
mentality, your personal development. That's a disservice to your clients.
That's a bar. That's a bar. That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
so true. Wow. Wow. I don't think people look at it that way. I don't think people look at it that way. What you said, like, I don't think, especially as a service providers, they're like, well, oh man,
Yes.
I can't take time to go to this conference. I got work to do for this client, which you should honor the work you need to do, but
Absolutely.
you do need you're not going to develop to the next level to be able to serve your clients unless you're doing these things and going to these events.
Absolutely. And that's
Wow.
another important part of building, right? Is that
Hmm.
clarity around the type of people that you want to work with, right?
Hmm.
One of the requirements for me personally when I got into this was I have to work with people who honor personal development for
Mm,
themselves, right?
mm,
Because if they invest in personal development for themselves, they're not going to squirm at the fact when I say, hey, I'm going to be out for 2 days because I'm going to this conference to learn
yeah.
X, Y, and Z so I can come back and figure out how we're going to implement some of these strategies in your business. They like, go,
There you go.
right?
Yeah,
They're going to support that because they invest in it for themselves.
that's right. Mm,
So you got to be
wow.
clear. It's not enough. I think when we think about ideal clients, we stay too much sometimes at surface level, right?
Mm,
What are their demographics? You know, all the basics. What are their
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
demographics? What are their psychographics? All the things. But I
mm,
challenge you to go a little bit deeper.
mm.
What's the value connection,
That's
right?
good.
What's the
That's
value
good.
connection to the person that you want to work with? Because there's
Mm,
going to be an exchange, whether you want there to be or not. There's going to be an exchange of energy, there's going to be an exchange of time. And I want to be engaging with people who are like minded, like seriously
mm.
like minded.
There you go. Ah, I had to write that down. Like that is so profound and so powerful. Like you're right. As I'm a marketer myself, I don't think I've ever like wrote down that requirement that they should be. It's in my head, but I never like
Yes,
really think about it to write like that is what I want. A person that's personal development driven, that they go to conferences, masterminds, attend all these things. That's
yes.
wisdom.
And
That's
they have to
wisdom.
be happy. That's my other requirement, David. Like
Mm,
they have to be happy people because
mm,
negative energy transfers and your girl
that's
don't
right.
have no time for it because I'm
Right.
aware of how it affects my body, right?
Mm,
I'm aware
yes.
that being in a negative space for too long will send me into a flare of lupus.
Mm,
So for me, I had to be super intentional and strategic. And so I challenge your listeners to really think about what's important to you, not just on the business perspective, but on the
mm,
personal perspective, because the two have to be in harmony.
yeah, that's real. That's good. So, Gwendolyn, I want to take us down a little bit of a different path, a little bit, and to kind of just give an understanding, because I'm sure you know your industry is there's a lot of people. It's starting to become even more popular than it ever has been. I'm seeing a lot of the term integrator, right?
Yes.
Integrator. Uh, what you classify them? COO, integrator, business manager, OBM.
Yes,
All of it is under the same. I believe in the same gifting across
it
that
is.
board. And so, could you explain to the listeners that maybe see themselves as going down this path? What is it? What is this kind of role, and what does it like? What you do in your business, but also this world. What does it take to really flourish as a really great integrator, as a really great COO, as a great operations specialist or OBM?
Yeah. That's such a loaded question, but it's such a good question. It takes strategic thinking. It takes, number one, it takes a heart to serve, right? Being an integrator, being an online business manager, all the things in that space means you have a heart to serve because you're basically saying, how do I use my skill set to make somebody else's business thrive and make it where all they have to do is show up and be the visionary that they are? So you also have to be great at working with visionaries. Those are people who have all the grandiose ideas. They probably get 55,000 downloads a day about what they want to do and all the things. You have to be great at honing them and structuring them and being like, that is wonderful. And that is an amazing idea. And I love it. And I think we can do it, but we can't do it today.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We might be able to do it 90 days from now, but right now we got X, Y, and Z to focus on. So you have to be a great person that can keep them on track. You have to be a big picture person because you have to understand how all the parts of the business work together. It's not going to be enough to just understand one portion of it. You have to understand how what we're marketing ties to how we deliver the service, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can market and sell, but if you don't have the back end system to deliver, you're screwed, right?
That's right.
And then if you have the back end system to deliver, but you don't have a sales strategy in place, doesn't make any sense. So you have to be
Mm-hmm.
a big picture thinker and be able to see how all the pieces fit together. You have to be great at looking at the data and analyzing, right, from all the different sources and how to use that data to help you make decisions. You have
Mm-hmm.
to really understand process improvement, that
Mm-hmm.
constant thing of creating and refining and streamlining and adding and taking away, right? You got to be great at people management. You got to be able to engage with people because you're going to be working with people from the highest of levels to sometimes the lowest of levels, right? But everybody's important. Every role is important. Every function is important. You have to get great at organizational development. And so this is working with your team to make sure you're managing data in the right way, you're collecting it in the right way, you're processing it in the right way. You've got to get great at, of course, financial management, right? If you can't understand the numbers and read the numbers, how are you going to support the visionary of when it's time to launch that new idea, right?
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to be able to do those things? So you got to get
Wow.
great at that. You got to be great at metrics,
Mm-hmm.
understanding what's important for us to look at, why it's important, how are we moving the needle. You got to be good at diagnosing issues, executing on strategies, and then managing all the parts that make it happen. That is what makes a great integrator. It is a very dynamic role, but it's a very fulfilling one, right? I think sometimes we look at the COO role or the integrator role as like, oh, I'm the person in charge. Yeah, you are of everything. So are you ready to really handle that? Not just in
Mm-hmm.
title alone.
Mm-hmm.
That means you're responsible for this entire organization
Mm-hmm.
and how it thrives or not thrives.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready for that level of responsibility?
Wow. That
So it's a
that
cute
is so
title,
profound.
but don't get hung up on the title. Are
Mm,
you ready to do the work?
mm.
And it's not
Wow.
easy
No.
because you're not the person that's going to be the doing, right? But you're going to be overseeing that the doing gets done.
Mm-hmm.
That could be 3 people, that could be 5 people, that could be 20 people, that could be 100 people. And you
Wow.
have to know the pulse of what's happening across the board.
Mm. Whoa. This is heavy. And I think like every visionary needs to hear this episode and every integrator needs to hear that. Like what you're sharing is gold
Yes.
for everybody, but primarily like understanding what the integrator's role is, what the visionary is, how they work together. You gave a this is
Yes.
like an integrator masterclass, honestly. Like have you ever thought are you do you work on putting on stuff on like that and help other integrators OBMs and all that get their stuff together? Cuz I think you'd be great at something like that.
It's so funny that you mentioned that because I literally just had somebody the other day. I was on a call with a new potential client coming into the business, and she was like, "Can you just come over, to our business and just like teach all of our ops managers and integrators?" And I'm like, "I could certainly do that. We need to have a conversation around what that looks like." But it's one of the
Mhm.
things that I love, right? I need to do more of it. I don't do a lot of it. I just
Mhm.
recently started in this past year because I have a client that I do consulting work for, and she was like, "I just need you to get my integrator together. Like, Can you do that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'll pay you to do that. And I'm like, I can, but can we talk about what that looks like first, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not something to take lightly. What is it that you want to see different in this integrator? What are the areas of improvement that they need, right? Is it the fact that they're not looking at the structure of the organization right? Is it a people skill that they need? Is it that they don't think strategically enough? Is it that they don't know how to communicate with the visionary, right? Visionaries speak in their own kind of language. You got to be able to interpret and decipher what they're actually saying, right? And reverberate that back to them. But that's a skill, right?
Right.
You got to be able to really harmonize that relationship between visionary and integrator is so key, because the visionary is basically saying, hey, I'm entrusting you to run my business, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be here for high level guidance and strategic thinking and making sure that you're going in the direction I think we should be going. Here's my vision, but I'm going to be entrusting you to execute that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's a lot.
Right.
It's not something to take lightly at all.
No.
So, do I train them? Absolutely. Will I be doing more of it? Absolutely. So stay tuned in 24, because I'm actually working on some things specifically for the integrators and the ops managers and people in that role.
Wow, that's wonderful. So tell us about your business. And as I read in the bio, that you work with high level entrepreneurs, 6 and 7 figures, and I'm sure beyond. And like, what is it that you do in your role in helping these entrepreneurs, and somebody listening that's maybe a visionary or an entrepreneur that needs somebody like you? What is it that you do for them?
So I work with them, like you said, I work with very high level entrepreneurs and CEOs of small businesses. And I work with them on what I've developed as my DIM method, right? It's this 3-step process that helps CEOs regain control of their time and optimize their operations. So I work with them to diagnose the issues that are going on in their business. We do an operational assessment, we analyze all the things, and we work with them to identify what those priorities are. And then we work with them on an implementation strategy, right? So I'll come with them and say, okay, who do you already have on your team? Who do you need on your team that's missing? What do we need to do to get you aligned to implement these systems and strategies that we just identified? And then I'll work with them to manage, monitor, and maintain that, right? So optimizing their productivity, their efficiency, making sure things that work together. So a lot of times I work in 2 different ways. I'm either working as kind of their right hand person, so their integrator, their COO, or I come in kind of as a consultant working with them on their overall strategy, on operations, or program management and development. Because sometimes they'll have the operational pieces in place, but then they want to launch a new program or something like that. And so they want to get my thoughts and my brain and my ideas on what's the best way to do that. How do we implement this without disrupting the other pieces of our operation so that they all work together? And so that is the work that I do. I also have a small team of virtual assistants who provide the administrative support. So I work with clients on the operational and strategy pieces, and then my team works with them on the admin pieces. So they do the calendar management, the research, the data entry, the file management, the travel arrangements, all of those things. So you kind of get this back end support to support you. The way that I like to think of it is I can come in and help you put the strategy together, make sure the operations are streamlined and solid, and then my team can make sure that you stay out of the weeds of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because my visionaries, stop scheduling your own appointments, stop trying to implement systems, which is why you got 10 things already that you're not using or you don't know how they work together. Just stop it. Come see me and let us help you.
Beautiful. I love that. Where can people plug in to uh, work with you? How can they, do you have consult? Do you have like website that they can go to? Where do people plug into?
Yes. So you can always go to yourvirtualadminexpert.com and you can book a call with us. You can reach out to me across all social media channels. I'm known as your admin expert across all channels. So you can connect with me there. Yeah, that's probably the best way. You can send me an email if you want. It's from the website. You can go right to the website, go to our contact us page. It's going to shoot me an email. But I would love to connect, see if we might be a potential good fit and how we could work together.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Um, Gwendolyn, I mean, you dropped so much value, so much heat here. I'm gonna go back and re-listen to it. But what would you say to someone that wants to, like, you shared how, took about 6 months to get that first client. So one of the last D's we talked about, we talked about discovery, we talked about development, and the last D is distribution, which is aka marketing. If you were to market your business today, starting, going back to how you started, but knowing the knowledge you have today to market your business, what would you do to build out your business, or your recommendation to, and this is for not any just integrators, or people in the admin space, this is for any business. What would you do to market your business today?
Oh, knowing what I know now, I am
Yeah.
definitely jumping into communities a whole lot faster. Networking is going to be at the top of my list. Relationship building is going to be at the top of my list. And then getting into social media is going to be at the top of my list as well. I was a late adopter to social media because I really didn't understand it all. And I just wasn't a social media. I'm a behind the scenes person. So it was like, you want me to do what? But I would have done those things sooner, faster, because that would have increased my visibility a lot faster, right? Getting my voice out there, talking about what I do, sharing my expertise, showcasing the results that I've helped people get. I would definitely be out there talking more, networking, relationship building, because when people talk to me, they instantly know I need to work with her, right?
Mm,
And then I'm going to show up more on social media, across social media. Those are the things that I would do, knowing what I know now.
beautiful.
Yes.
Love it. And the one final question we have that, you weren't prepped for this, and we always ask every guest on the show is, what's the difference between one's gift and one's purpose? One's gift and one's purpose.
Oh, that is a great question. Let me think about that.
Yeah,
The
no doubt.
difference between your gift and your purpose. That's a tough question, David.
It is.
The difference between your gift and your purpose. Sorry, y'all. He threw me for a loop.
Oh
Like
yeah,
he didn't let me know about any of these questions, but this one is a tough one.
yeah, yeah. It
Um,
definitely. Yep.
okay, so I would say for me, when I think about my gift and when I think about my purpose is why I was birthed into the earth, right? It's the reason I'm alive. It's the reason I breathe. It's the reason I live. It's the reason I exist, right? And it's going to be evident regardless of what environment I'm in. That is my purpose, right? And my purpose is really is to uplift people. It's to make their lives easier. It's to make things operate better. It doesn't matter if it's in a personal realm or a professional realm. That is my purpose. My gift is the how I get it done, right? My gift is how I execute on my purpose, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
It, it's the skill that I have. It's the thing I've developed to help me do my purpose. That's what I see as the difference between my gift and my purpose.
That's great. That's great. Wow. You're giving me a new understanding. I mean, I surmise what you said by, I'm just taking what your words are and just putting it, you're essentially saying the purpose is your why and your gift is the how.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That's deep. Super deep.
Yes,
Wow, Gwendolyn, you dropped some heat on them today. I know there are going to be people listening to this over and over and over again. Thank you so much for sharing so much value.
absolutely.
Anything that I didn't ask you that you feel like you need to share with the people, or you feel like we covered it?
Um, I just wanted to just encourage everybody that if God put it in your heart, take the leap and do it, right? Take the leap and do it. If life throws you a curveball like it did me and you're not really sure, just get quiet and listen because the answer is there. But your voice matters, your business matters, your service to the world, it matters. And there's somebody out there that needs you. So stop waiting and go for it.
Love it. Thank you, Gwendolyn. Appreciate you dropping all this wisdom. God bless you and thank you.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.